Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Karen, and formerly Karen. This is Casey, but who was Karen in another life? Oh, you're muted, honey.
One moment, please.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Hi.
All right. So Karen is one of our newest members, and Jenny, you and Karen have already met, I believe. And Casey is a really good friend of mine and one of our VIP members too. And I'm so excited you can make this call.
Finally, we'll see if hopefully the kids are quiet. We'll see.
It's all good. Just mute yourself and we'll see children like bouncing around in the background.
Exactly.
So I believe we are streaming now.
Ooh.
Yes.
Cool. Hi, Internet.
So we've got like a minute lag. If we start to see chats, I'll start to share them in here. And we'll just navigate that as it goes. It will be on YouTube for the duration of this call, and then you guys will get the recording in the community.
Awesome.
All right. Let's give it another couple minutes. So, Kimmy, you're in Charleston. I didn't introduce you. This is my sister, Kimmy.
Hello.
And Karen, where are you again?
I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yes. Not too far from my sister.
And
Christina is in Colorado. And Jenny, where are you right now?
We're currently in Southern California, just outside of Disneyland, really.
Oh,
basically.
Fun.
We're a little closer to Disneyland than LA, and that sounds like more fun to say.
Definitely.
I do like that. And Casey is on Long Island with me. Casey, do you want to introduce yourself and your business? Because we really haven't done that yet.
Oh, sure. I'd love to. Totally not prepared for any of that. But I'm Casey Marandino. I have a metaphysical store here in town where I sell crystals and host workshops and host, I guess, my healing sessions and my psychic medium sessions and all kinds of fun things. I'm probably like a decade into this. I guess more so 2 to 3 years where I'm actually taking it seriously. I dabbled for a while, but it was time to grow up and no, just I've been grown up, but to really take it seriously. But I'm excited to be here. So thank you, Kendra.
Yes, Casey is absolutely fabulous. I've gone to her for all sorts of things. She hosts a moon circle, a new moon circle that I absolutely love to get to when I can. And she's just a really good, she has a good background in marketing for the spiritual space and the metaphysical space. I mean, in general and in everything, but I think specifically that you have like a really special touch with how to take a metaphysical business and really make it something, a beautiful brand and so yeah, I highly recommend everyone go check out. What's your website?
Just CaseyMarandino.com.
Okay.
And then it redirects like to the store. I'm working on having it all be just live in one space.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
It's a beautiful rabbit hole to fall down to when I go in there. But you also do healings online and things like that, right?
I do. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, actually, so last year, like this day last year, a year ago, you had your retreat.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So in
Yes.
my Facebook feed, the apothecary, we did this exercise where Casey had like this incredible spread of all these like herbs and crystals and all these special little trinkets, and you were supposed to like put something together that had some sort of meaning for you. And I was putting together this test tube of all things that I wanted to build into Eve, like supporting women and all of the strength I needed to do that, and then also bringing all of you into this. And I just saw it today, and I was like,
Oh, cool.
wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Universe worked.
Yeah. Well, the funniest part is that the day we started really advertising and accepting members, the tube broke.
See, it
Smack.
did its job. It's you didn't need it anymore.
So
Love
funny.
it. That's cool.
And Karen, do you want to introduce yourself? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Sure. I'm Karen. As I mentioned, I lived in the Raleigh area, North Carolina. My business is still kind of forming. It's definitely, haven't fully birthed it yet, but it is work. It is facilitation work with a focus on change management and various communication skills, especially visual thinking and visual communication. So I'm taking three things I'm thoroughly enjoying learning about and leaning into and creating a whole business out of it. So we'll see how it goes.
Yes, it is very exciting to watch you take steps, and I'm can't wait to hear what you're focusing on this month. Just so you guys are aware before we start, the November workshop for us is all about planning. So I have lots of worksheets. We're going to look at the 2025 as a whole, and then kind of reverse engineer what our larger goals are into small action steps so we can create a plan to create whatever it is you're looking to focus on in that first quarter and beyond. So I think all of us should be focusing on abundance. And with that, Christina and Kimmy, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves or your businesses later, but let's get into working on repeatable IP. Jennie, how are you? I'm so excited you're here. This is such a cool topic.
Thank you. I'm great. I'm really excited to talk about this too. It is so brand new out of like our world, and we have been working on it in the Batcave for a while, and now we're really excited to tell the world about it. So I'll just go ahead and introduce myself and we'll get to it.
Please.
Yes. So my name is Jennie Mustafa-Julock, which is ridiculous. You never have to say that. You could just call me Jennie. And I'm one half of Jennie and Meredith, my wife and CEO of our business. And we help people who have what we call impatient ambition. So people who have done some really great things and they would like to do way more yesterday, if not sooner. Thank you very much. We help them figure out how they can make that happen so that they can get further faster without burning out or anything like that. And one of the things that we're exceptionally proud of in our business is there's kind of two sides to it. One side of our business is all about helping people make things happen that matter to them, helping those impatiently ambitious people make things happen. That's the core of our business. The other side of our business is kind of a peek behind the scenes of how we are making things happen. Right? As we've been working with people since 2006, don't do the math. I'm very young. Since 2006, we have found a lot of my clients over the years have wanted that behind the scenes action. And I by no means believe that we are over here like walking on water. We have it all figured out. But if we can shorten somebody's learning curve, that speaks to their impatient ambition. And so anything that's really working for us, we are all about sharing that. So I share that as background for how this repeatable IP thing came to be. So first of all, let me define what the heck I mean by repeatable IP. Since I made up the term, I get to define it, right? So what I mean by repeatable IP is any kind of process or tool or framework that is intentionally designed to be something that your clients, your customers, the people who take advantage of your work enter by design to be repeated. And they repeat it, and every time they do, they get better at it. Right? So they get some proficiency until they get some mastery at it. So whatever the result of or the outcome or the output of this process or framework of yours is, they get richer and deeper results the more they do it. So imagine instead of creating the next piece of how-to content that people come and they learn and they do once, one and done, love you, all done, you create something that they need to re-engage with over and over again. And not always, but in many cases, reinvest in again and again without you redeveloping the wheel or coming up with something new. In our business, we have created pieces of repeatable IP because I'm a nerd about process. I actually heard Karen explaining what she does. I come out of the change management, org development world myself, so I can nerd out about process like nobody's business. And then my wife comes from a perspective of education. And so as an educator specifically focused on adult education, she's really nerdy about instructional design. And so when we put those things together, what we have developed, as much as humanly possible, are ways for our clients to engage in processes that aren't helpful for a minute, but become something that are helpful over and over again, depending on what the thing is. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down so far? Yeah. So the idea of repeatable IP is you don't have to create new content ever again, right? Like you can have whole programs that are just doing that same thing. And we have a lot of different examples of what we've built and some examples of what some of our clients have built that I want to share with you today. But I get really bored talking at people for a very long time. So I would love for this to be interactive. So please ask questions, interrupt me as much as you would like to, okay? So first of all, a couple quick facts, because I think that's kind of the vibe of this space. My wife and I have been married forever. We just celebrated our 21st anniversary. Again, don't do the math. And we are full-timers who live in this Airstream. So we point our home in the direction of 70 degrees, wherever that is. That's where we want to be. If the weather is beautiful, you'll find us there. And then also a fun fact is we're both fluent in American Sign Language, which I don't think comes up that often in our business, but it does on occasion. And so that's kind of a fun fact. We met in college. We've been together since. And I started my career as a fancy pants management consultant internally and externally in the federal government. And Meredith's education, she's been in special education her whole career. And so when you put our nerdery into a blender, you get repeatable IP. That's really kind of what that turns out to be. So in what we want people to do, let me back up. What we have been able to do is build these kinds of pieces of repeatable IP that people know about us. Like we are known for these things. So things like a weekly tool that we use for planning your to-do list. Sounds pretty simple, right? But a weekly way for you to plan your to-do list so you're not overwhelmed, so you can get further faster, you're following the thread here, is one of our pieces of repeatable IP. And so people buy a course from us, and then they have the option to join what we call the Power Hour, where we go through the Make It Happen method. That's our repeatable IP every single Thursday. So every single Thursday, I open up a Zoom room twice on Thursdays because of time zones and go through the exact same 5 steps every single week. There's no new content. I'm never developing new content for this. Am I getting better at it? Absolutely. But it never gets old either, because when you show up to it, you're thinking about what you got going on for the next week, right? So every single time, the process itself, it becomes this safe, predictable tool that people are using and making their own. Really important language there, right? So a great piece of repeatable IP isn't just something they can do again and again. Who cares? But it becomes this really reliable, predictable, safe process or tool that they can go to every time they need to, in this case, with the Make It Happen method, plan their week ahead and make sure that they're planning a week where the promise of that is, I am completing a meaningful to-do list every week, right? That feels really good. Okay, so I want to complete another meaningful to-do list this week. All I got to focus on this week, I can follow this process and I know what to expect. And when we started doing stuff like that, what we realized is because people knew what to expect, they were pushing themselves more. They were bringing more, like, oh, okay, now that I've done this a couple of weeks, I've kind of made it my own a little bit. And here's how I'm doing. I'm adding, like I'm adding some color coding, or I'm using a bunch of fancy sticky notes, or I've invested in a big piece of software and I've made this my own. But now I'm going to think even bigger, because now it's safe and predictable and I know what to expect every time. Right? And that's what's really exciting about it. Another thing, and I think that kind of repeatable IP is, it happens. There's other people that do that, but who here is in memberships where a lot of the memberships are about new content? Every month there's a new batch of content, which is really exciting as an entrepreneur to build at first. But month 27, if I can come up with another month of content that I haven't already covered, right? You're laughing. Has anybody had that experience where it's like, what am I going to say this time? No, I'm not alone. Okay, yeah, it's exhausting. And so like having these kinds of memberships where people can go again and again makes a lot of sense. But by no means does repeatable IP only fit into memberships. Another, probably our signature piece of repeatable IP, is a process that isn't its own program. It's called a proof. Now, what it is doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to refer to it as a proof. And the proof is a 4-step process for giving yourself credit. Okay. That's underselling it, but it doesn't matter. So that's what this process is. It's what we want to be known for. We're very, very proud of it, but we've never sold it by itself. What we've done is we've taken that sliver of IP that is very, very specific to kind of our mission in life, and we've placed it in different parts of our business. So that one like piece of content, that one process is step 2 of that make it happen method I was talking about before. Right? It's step 2 of 5, but it's a piece of it. And then we actually took that proof and turned that into the core part that we built an entire all-day experience around called No Matter What. And the No Matter What event is an all-day experience that we run quarterly. Now, here's what's really fun about that. This is where we actually realized we were doing this repeatable IP thing, is the first time we hosted the No Matter What, the idea was you come to this and you're going to figure out what you're going to do for the next 90 days, following this process that is based around the proof. We're really excited about it. And as soon as it was over, somebody raised their hand, like, what questions do you have? And she's like, can I come again when you do this in September? And we hadn't thought about like that, because I don't know about you, I had only ever hosted things where I'm teaching them a thing and love you, mean it, bye. I got to go find a whole new group of people again before I do this again. But I want to do it again because it was really great and people really loved it. And I was like, yeah, you could do this again. Of course. So here comes September, and we had about half the people back for the September plus new people. And the response at the end of that was the second time was even better. I was like, but why? Like, I didn't do anything different. There was nothing novel. There was nothing surprising. I didn't be like, oh, look at this new thing. There was nothing, because they were able to settle into the experience, right? They knew what to expect. So there was less nerves about what she's going to say next. They knew exactly what we were going to do after lunch. And ironically, they still were surprised by some of the things. Oh, yeah, I forgot we did that. I like this part. So fast forward to now, the first one I did of that was in June 2020. And we just finished in September, we just did the 15th No Matter What event. And I have 2 people that have been to 10 No Matter What's. They have invested 10 times. And then many other people have invested like 3, 4, 5, 8 times into the same exact experience. It's become something that they're putting on their calendar. This year, we even created an annual pass so that you can go ahead and plug in these quarterly events and not miss them. And now people are paying for them annually. So it's become, again, I am not hiding the ball. I'm not pretending there's going to be some like new exciting thing, but it's designed to be repeatable. So at this point, I feel like I'm just bragging a lot, but I just want you to see a few examples of how this has worked out. And I need a sip of water. So what is coming up for you as I'm talking?
Anyone feel free to jump in.
Please.
I definitely have some questions. I'd love to hear what other people have done that kind of fits the same framework. I have a million ideas. But yeah, can you give me like another example that's sort of outside of the industry that you're in, or something adjacent?
Yes. So I have a very specific example that will kind of blow your mind. We have a client that we worked with and developed a piece of repeatable IP for them. They are coaches for auto mechanic shop owners. How specific is that?
Yeah.
Okay, so they are coaches who help auto mechanic shop owners. And very specifically, their goal is to help these auto mechanic shop owners, because they used to be auto mechanic shop owners themselves, help them not only grow their business, but grow their business in a way that they can also make it to their kids' softball games and soccer games, and also have dinner with their family once in a while. I love the nodding, right? Like we can totally feel that. If you have a mom and pop, like in-person shop, you work 7 days a week and you never see your family, that's no good. So people hire this team specifically to help coach them on how can we grow our business, but also, lock the doors, walk away from it, trust our staff to keep it running. So they have a group program, and they needed a way to hold their shop owners accountable that was more tangible. Because imagine you're working with shop owners all over the world. a shop in Vermont versus a shop in Los Angeles. They got very different needs. And so they hired us to build what we called a 2-week target system so that they could come up with their own 2-week targets of what they were going to do. So again, we created something that was repeatable, but completely customized to each individual client. So that would be one example that jumps to mind that was incredibly successful, because
Yeah.
now instead of like each person waiting their turn on a group call to ask about their specific thing, they all feel connected because it's using the same framework, even they're all still working on their specific goal.
Right. Well, that's interesting.
So this works great for goal setting and habit forming. It also works great for anybody who has kind of a process for developing ideas. We have some folks in the Repeatable IP lab that we run. We have some folks that are building things that are based on their own framework of something they've done just in their business, figuring out ways to codify it so other people can learn from that as well. We have some folks that want to do this for like create repeatable IP program processes for training dogs on agility training. So we have all different kinds of, it fits for all different kinds of work. I keep saying businesses, but I think businesses is too small because we also have some people looking at corporate applications as well. Good question. Other
Casey,
questions or
Karen,
comments?
Kimmy, Christina? I immediately, when we were talking about this, I was thinking about your business, Casey, because Casey has a moon circle that she does monthly, and it's a very specific, do you want to speak about that, Case?
Yeah, each month we kind of go whatever sun sign, whatever sign the moon is in is what I base the class on. But then I also call in an archangel, but I've been doing it since 2017 and I don't reinvent the wheel anymore. But I teach it in person. So I'm very limited to, my reach. I've experimented with recording it, but I think that I probably have about 12 different things that I could use this process for. Like I really do. Even my retreats, I do them seasonally. Like all of these things that when you said you don't have to recreate the content again, like my whole body just went, whoo. Like I just was, wow, other people do that. Like, because I feel like I'm always trying to recreate instead of reuse because I feel like that's not smart, but it actually seems like it's smarter.
It is smarter if it's designed with that in mind. If you design it as a repeatable experience and then are above board about like, I've designed this to be a tool you can use again and again.
Right.
And I'm not going to be able to speak very smartly about your business, but you get, this is what you can use every time this planetary arrangement is happening. Right? Like this is where you go to, here is the process, here are the things to think about, or here's the checklist, or here are the reminders. I don't know what the things are, right? But like actually having a thing that says, here's something that happens again and again. The closest that my incredibly limited knowledge is going to be is Mercury in retrograde, right? So when that happens, right, here is the process for navigating Mercury retrograde.
Right.
For example, like that kind of thing bubbles up. But yeah, the idea that we need to keep tap dancing and entertaining people to keep them engaged, we're proving that that's not true. In fact, what we're proving is you get more loyalty, like customer loyalty, when you're creating a container and a framework. I keep using those words all interchangeably, but a piece of IP that belongs to you and is unique to your work, that they feel like, oh my gosh, that is a place I want to go to again and again.
Yeah. I feel like I'm doing that in person. I just don't have the capabilities to do it. Like I have the same people that come since 2017, even my retreats, but it needs, I could scale it.
Yeah, you could absolutely scale it and then make it clear, here's why you want to come again and again. And that's the shocker. That's the big surprise to us, is that every single time people come, they get a deeper experience. They get a fuller experience because again, they settle into it. And we're not selling that. I see some people who have some repeatable things happening in their business, but they're not selling it that way. They're like, no, it's cool. And you should come again because of this cool new bonus. We don't need that. We don't need that.
Yeah, it's almost like the repeatable part of it allows you to know exactly how you need to show up, like how you need to prep yourself, and then what you're going to achieve on that call. Like I've been to a lot of your things, and it's always that. It's always I know that I have to show up with what I need to accomplish. And you're right. It doesn't, I guess I always think about like providing new value, keeping people interested, like what's the newest thing with AI and how can I give that information over to help people with their businesses. But I think this is sort of an interesting concept because I never really considered, if you want to make progress in your business, it's very likely that there is a process you have to follow and something you have to do over and over and over. Very similar to, our planning workshop that we're going to do. It's the first one, so I've never repeated anything yet, but it's interesting to think that, something like that could be a repeatable event that everyone knows, like this is when I figure out my year every single year. Um,
Right.
so that's
You just have to
interesting.
design that with that in mind
Right.
and explain that with that in mind. And you're absolutely right. I think that I want to be clear. I don't think there's anything wrong with I have new information. I have some how-to language. I have some knowledge transfer I want to hang with you. I've made a lot of money, selling knowledge transfer. Nothing wrong with that at all. But what I'm finding is that I usually sell that once. Like
Right.
that's kind of the end of that experience. And in rare cases is that really bespoke IP of ours, right?
Right. Right.
Versus creating not a process like, oh, I read this book and we're going to use this book that I like and we're going to try out their process. And that's not repeatable IP either. It's also what is uniquely yours, which is why we're so fired up about this. Far too many people in my industry, in the coaching industry specifically, are certified in somebody else's model and don't even use their own name when they describe what they do. Now,
Right.
I don't think
Right.
there's, again, nothing wrong with that, but where's the longevity of that?
Hmm.
Right? If I'm a Martha Beck coach or I'm a Mr. Pickle Bottom coach, I don't even know all the names anymore, right? Like I'm a coach of this model. Where's your version of that? And that's what we're inspired to help people do. I think so few of us are thinking, oh, I can develop my own intellectual property that becomes my, yes, you absolutely can. And then to take this a bit further, we can start, you were talking about scaling, Casey. Like one of the ways that we have scaled a piece of our repeatable IP is we've licensed it. So one
That's what I
example,
was going to ask you about next.
Uh,
yeah. So one of the things I've talked about so far is repeatable IP that's based on like frequency, weekly or quarterly, like based on frequency. But there's also repeatable IP that's just instigated by circumstance, which is a fancy way of saying like use the tackle your fears exercise the next time you need to tackle a fear because you're scared, or use the unstuck and unstoppable the next time you want to ask for help. So the Unstuck and Unstoppable is a repeatable process that I developed selfishly because I wanted my Q&A calls to not suck. I wanted my AMAs to be productive. I wanted my masterminds to actually move the needle. I was so tired of going to, and we've all done this, these Q&As where, okay, so what's your story? And then you're all waiting your turn for that girl to tell her 20-minute backstory. And you're like, oh my God. So I wanted something better than that. So I developed a very tight 2-minute script process and I called it Unstuck and Unstoppable because I didn't have better words. And it was a decade ago. So just forgive me for using these cliches, but the name stuck. We call it the You and You. And I use that so much in my business that some of my clients were like, man, I wish I could use this. I wish I could use that same thing. Could I license that from you? And I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. Give me a minute. I'll figure it out. Worked with my lawyer. And yes, I now license other people to become You and You facilitators. But because I'm so passionate about repeatable IP being something you can use, you can take that off the shelf and name it something else and make it your own and make it a piece of IP that you get to use. I have a client who we're actually doing it tomorrow. She is a You and You facilitator. So she's a licensee of this process. And she's turned that one piece of IP into an entire membership. She has monthly mastermind meetings called Wing Women, and where all of these women come together just to mastermind about one question that's on their mind with other entrepreneurs other female founders, as she puts it. And that process is the whole thing. And she is making money, just taking that process and making it something that makes sense for her particular community. So not only, is that's a whole nother revenue stream for you. So going back to Casey's example, if you found a way to codify some of these processes, you said a dozen are coming to mind right now.
Yeah.
And then say, okay, who are the other astrologists that need this?
Well, people are asking me to do this, to coach them in what I'm doing, and I have no idea. Like, that just seems so far-fetched to me that I'm like, why do you want? And it's like, okay, maybe we should do this. Maybe we should think about this.
Right. Well, and again, that's a matter of, do you want to do that? Like, that's a really important point. I do not want to, for example, license the way I coach, because I am a acquired taste. I'm very specific. I don't give gentle nudges. I give cathartic shoves, like I have a whole style, and there's no way I could license that. But I can license these pieces of IP, these processes, as ways that other people can benefit from them as well and make them their own.
I think that's really interesting in the sense of like solving the scalability challenge when you're like a solopreneur, because I have similar, I'm not a coach per se, but all of my clients right now, I work personally with, hands-on with, and yeah, I have my own kind of flavor too, where I don't know that I could, copy paste me. I just don't, I couldn't do it. But this kind of solves that problem of taking pieces of what can be kind of copy pasted and then creating kind of a whole different revenue stream from it. So it's totally different than all of my client work, because I'm sure, as you know, as a coach, you only got so many hours you can work as you. And so this is a very interesting thing for me, as something just I'm exploring as I'm starting to hit capacity.
Absolutely. Because you do. At some point, you hit capacity, and to make more money, you just got to charge this group of people more money, because you don't get it more than 168 hours, right? Like, there's only so much you can do. But then this also can solve for a lot of things. It can solve for people that can't afford you yet, right? So it can solve for people who are a little more DIY, and allow you to take some of your processes that you only have ever been able to deliver one-on-one, and say, how could I drill that down, or drill pieces of it down? Be clear, it doesn't have to be the whole thing. Drill pieces of it down to make it really valuable. So an example that came up in one of our conversations in the Repeatable IP Lab was, I have this process I use for my sales calls. Nobody else experiences it except for the people on my sales calls, but like, they're not the target market. But I have a lot of colleagues who would like to know how I'm going from like nice to meet you to $7,000 in 30 minutes. I'm like, yes, they would. Yes, they would. So like, learning how to do that piece of like something in the way that you do it can also be a piece of repeatable IP. And so hopefully I'm stirring getting your imagination really going here, of like, there were so many possibilities here. And again, it's different from like building just a piece of content. So one of the things I want to add to this conversation is developing a quick piece of content for your next call, by comparison to repeatable IP, is a lot easier, right? It's a lot quicker.
Right.
And it doesn't take nearly the amount of effort. To create a really great piece of repeatable IP, we're going to have to really fine tune it and validate it with your actual clients, and make sure you're explaining it really well. And that takes some practice and some back and forth with people. So developing this takes more effort on the front end. And then it just keeps going forever, which is really cool if you wanted to. Can you? I'm clearly excited about this, so I want to give you plenty of time to ask questions or poke holes.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to hear. So, Kimmy and Karen, like, I know your businesses are sort of still percolating. Like, does this give you any new ideas or thoughts about something that you could create that you maybe didn't realize before?
For me, absolutely. This resonates with me. As a teacher, you're always like, okay, let's rinse and repeat and add, make changes and growth and everything. And I'm building out my literacy sets. Anytime I've done a story walk, I literally map it out. So like, next time I go to that same space, I don't have to reinvent the wheel and remember, well, where did I start this book? And what, just all those things that I I think is super helpful, and that resonates with me. Kind of what you're saying, that it's work smarter, not harder. And yes, there's definitely a lot of work on the front end, but it's worth it to kind of be more free and creative and have fun with it the next time.
I agree. It also adds the piece that you're an outlier in your industry. You know what I mean? There's a whole lot of people that teach lots of different ways, and there's a whole lot of off the shelf things that you can teach. But if you have a particular way, an approach that you go into teaching a particular kind of subject, that can become something that you own and you can help other teachers be better at. But it can also, so I'm not being articulate. My point is what excites me about repeatable IP is it's kind of got two different potential audiences. The actual audience you're speaking to right now and your colleagues, right? And in the past, I've not really had a lot of IP designed for my colleagues, but I have a lot of colleagues wanting to look over my shoulder. Does anybody else have that? You know, like, and so like if I can shorten their learning curve, it also it ups, you know, our visibility and authority inside of the space, inside of our industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for Kimmy, I definitely feel like a licensing program would be a really smart move in the future when she's got her feet under her and you know, got this going. Because when you and I were first talking, I was like, oh, Karen, where do you see that this could be something that you could implement?
I'm loving this. My ideas are all over the place, but in facilitation, you learn how to do certain exercises based on kind of the needs of your audience, your clients, and then you can kind of pull those exercises together to create modules, so to speak, where you can mix and match them to get a desired effect. And so I see, as I'm learning more and more about facilitation from different sources, different flavors, kind of creating my own kind of hybrid exercises and hybrid modules. And maybe definitely deliver in person, test them out, deliver them in person to get the impact, but also maybe package them for those who can't have me in person, or maybe a smaller version to send as homework. you know,
Yeah.
so as the teams leave, here are things, here's homework, here are things for you to continue to do. And then there's their regular check-ins. How's this going? So there's the frequency portion. And if I create an amazing module, then of course I can license it to other facilitators to use. So
and facilitators are always looking for those opportunities, for
definitely,
sure.
definitely. And even different forms of resources. Like on a call today, we were discussing other resources and people were talking about like physical cards to give you ideas for, exercises that you can put together, to create a workshop, so mix and match. So I'm loving this. Yeah.
Well, Karen, again, we come from the same kind of world. The nerdy side of me is like tingling in the back of my brain, because in my mind, one of the things that's really cool about once you've developed your repeatable IP is you're no longer teaching it, you're facilitating it. And to facilitate means simply to make easy, just making it easy, right? And so once you've developed that, you're bringing people through that again and again. And again, if you're doing it right, in my opinion, it's not just something, oh, I can do this once in a while. It becomes something they kind of rely on anytime you hit either that frequency or that, something incites you to say, oh, I'm holding myself back. I need to tackle a fear, or I'm not being clear. I need to write a 2-minute script, or whatever the things are. I know these sound really weird because they're part of my business. But as you could tell, I love that Kendra asked me to come speak about this. But this is brand spanking new that Meredith and I are now codifying this and teaching it to other people. So part of me, this is very meta, but part of me teaching this to you and telling you about this is also us learning how to make it a repeatable process. Because once you've developed one piece of repeatable IP, you're like, oh, I got 30 more ideas right behind that one. And not all of them are going to sing, but some of them might actually become what you're known for.
Right.
Who doesn't want that?
You know what I love about what you do, Jennie, is you brand everything so beautifully. You're an author and your language skills are really so fun, and you really have created such a specific, and like, I can read something, and if you wrote it, I know you wrote it, you know.
Yeah.
There's such a beautiful tone that's very solid in everything you do, which is, you know, something I bang a drum on all the time as a brand strategist. So, you know, I think that's another part of it, that it's not just here's this cool process. Like, you name it so specifically. It's something fun. It's short, like the U to U is brilliant. Like, so
Thank
smart.
you. I still feel embarrassment about that because I
No,
started
I
using
actually
it
love
way
it.
before everybody said unstuck, and then unstuck became like the word everybody used. But yes, thank you.
Yeah. And you know, my brain's spinning like, how can I do this inside of the Eve community so that, you know, one of the things that we get all the time is like, I'm stuck. I don't know how to get over this block. Or, you know, I created something new and it didn't work out the way I thought. And now I feel like I'm back at square one. You know, just that's where my wheels are turning. How can I create this inside of this community to help community members have these processes so they can get through, you know, all of these different points in their business, even though we're all in different businesses. You know, it doesn't matter because we all kind of struggle with the same things, whether it's, you know, getting over a mountain of marketing, or, you know, brand reach, or whatever it is. We all kind of struggle with the same stuff.
Well,
So
that brings me to a really important point. So where do we start in figuring out pieces of repeatable IP? I mean,
yes.
obviously the ideas just start percolating. But as you were just describing that, two very specific spots, like potential places to jump in and say, I think a piece of repeatable IP here would be very valuable for this membership, for this community.
Yeah.
One that jumps out to me is a square one starter. Like, so you're back to square one. Isn't that good news? Here's where to start. I don't know what that is, but
Yeah.
like if
I
you
love
feel like
that.
that's coming up again, let's celebrate. Oh, back to square one. Sweet. Cracks knuckles, let's go. Right? Like this is what I do.
Yeah.
Or, you know, a don't quit yet. That was the other thought that bubbled up as you were describing that. Like, oh my God, it's not working. It's not
You're
taking off yet.
channeling, Jenny.
Like, let's go to the
Yeah.
don't quit yet process. Now, neither of those exist in my business. So, like, you could run with that. Be like, okay, those are the holes I'm seeing. These are the repeatable things I'm seeing again and again. And people don't need a one-time pep talk.
Right.
What they need is something they could do again and again because they're going to be here again and again. Do you guys
Yeah.
see the distinction?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of these communities, they get a one-time pep talk. And then you feel
Right.
like you got to come up with
And it's
something new and novel.
specific to the person because they come on the call and they're like, I'm having trouble with this. And meanwhile, there's probably 6 other people in the room who have had that issue or are currently in it or will
Yeah.
be shortly.
100%. So like if you built like a tool or a process or a thing that was designed to be repeatable. Oh, every time I'm there, I go and I grab the don't quit yet
Right.
thing.
Right.
Make it
Right. Kendra, I
fly.
need your thing.
Right. People are like, oh my gosh, I want to quit. I need to go to Eve Academy because I need the don't quit yet thing
Yeah.
again. Where is that? Where's that module? Right? Where's that thing? That's what I'm talking about is when you start talking about what are the breakthroughs I see my clients have all the time? What are the questions I hear all of the time? What are the requests I hear all the time that I
Right.
can't possibly fill? Like going back to Christina, I do all this one-on-one work. I'm closing on capacity very soon, if not already there. There are so many people who are still hitting me with these questions. I could help them if I just took a couple of weeks to build out this thing and then maybe a couple of weeks to validate it and put it out there and see how it goes. That could be a nice little way that you helped either your colleagues who are sitting beside you or future clients who are waiting until their businesses are at a place they can afford you or something
Yeah.
like that.
I love
I
it.
think something
So
you
cool.
said too that stood out to me was like being excited to return to it. Like even if back to square one, all right, like let's go. And I think that's like a really important distinction too of or what I'm gathering from the repeatable IP that it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing that you're coming back and you're getting deeper into it and kind of continuing to evolve with it.
Absolutely. It's not a crutch. It's a tool.
Hmm.
I think that's important to set it up as a tool, not a crutch. So I
Yeah.
will share something. I'm very afraid to share this here because I might ruffle some feathers. But once upon a time, there was a period where everybody in my industry said that If you had a problem, all you need to do was write in your gratitude journal. That was the solution to everything. Y'all are laughing, right? You know what I'm talking about. I am not anti-gratitude. I don't want you to be like, that woman's ungrateful. I'm not. But I don't think it's a solution to every problem. And I was getting really frustrated by people saying, I wrote in my gratitude journal every single day. And today I'm just grateful that the grass was kind of green because I've run out of things to talk about. It's not actually that repeatable. After a while, you have some diminishing returns. And that annoyed me. And I also realized that with gratitude, you're kind of, with the exception of maybe your health, you're grateful for things external to you. And so nobody was actually looking at themselves. And I was like, I need something that isn't a gratitude journal, that is about like what I've actually done, confidence I've already earned, and a way to see that again. And that's how I developed the proof, is realizing, oh my gosh, this thing that's pissing me off, that I can't figure out the reason it's pissing me off, is because it's incomplete. It's not enough. I can develop something that is enough. And I'm really excited because now Meredith and I have proven, bad pun, proven that the proof works. And we put it into a few different places in our business. And our third book is going to be all about the proof and why everybody needs a proof to go with their gratitude journal. They might not even need the gratitude journal anymore. Right. And I'm excited about that. That's a really cool piece of IP that I think is going to be something we're really, really known for, because it came out of something that annoyed us. So does anybody, can you think of something in your industry as well, of like, why are they teaching phonics this way? It's not 1982 anymore, people, or whatever it is. I'm making that up, Kimmy. I could be way off, but you get the gist.
That's an interesting thing to think of, like what annoys us so much and why, and then how can we kind of pick up the pieces and make it better. Like there's a certain process to branding that really bugs me. And I just don't think it's enough. Like similar, I think it's incomplete. I don't think it covers everything. And I think probably when it was created, it was just sort of, here's a real simple way for you to do this on your own. But then people have run with it like it's industry standard or gold standard, and it's not enough. Not that I want to create my own branding, repeatable IP or tool, because that just doesn't excite me. But I could see where, there are things that I could think about that and using that framework that would help figure out a direction. And you also have a really cool tool to help people.
I do. So I have, this is totally free and cheesy, but I am going to ask for your email address in exchange. So I have this tool. It's called the Repeatable IP Idea Generator. And I use ChatGPT, who I like to call Kevin. Okay.
Kevin?
So Kevin and I got together and we hung out, and I was like, listen, Kevin, a lot of people have these ideas, but I want them to be able to have these ideas faster. So in the chat, if you would, Christina, the idea generator link, you go there and you'll just give me your email address, just so I know you were here, or if you're watching on the internet, I know you were there, because I can't even see you. And then it will give you a button that will open a custom GPT. And that custom GPT is going to ask you 3 questions about your business, very basic, like what do you do, who do you work with, that kind of thing. And then it's going to generate some cool repeatable IP ideas, which is really, really fun. So go ahead and check that out. Click on that link, put in your email address.
When you click on it, that's where you'll put your email.
And then you'll be able to, you're good. Then you'll be able to like play with the ideas. And if he spits out ideas that you're like, yeah, that's not right, tell him so. Be like, yeah, you're not quite right, but like have a back and forth conversation a little bit. I'm kind of blown away by this thing. If you get pretty specific about what you do, it will give you some really outside of the box ideas I would never have thought of. Though, because I've spent so much time hanging out with Kevin, that's why I was able to spit out those ideas for Kendra. My brain now thinks this way. So we might not need Kevin soon. I'm just kidding. Thank God for Kevin.
I'm obsessed with AI. I love that you did this.
Oh, it's so much fun. And it's the first time I've made my own GPT, which I'm very proud that I figured that out. It wasn't that hard.
No.
Yeah, it's something you could, again, use again and again to be like, oh, I want another idea. Or now here's a problem I want to solve. Give me 10 more ideas, which is really fun. I see your eyes all darting around. If somebody's playing with it and you get a cool idea, let me know.
Yeah. Tell us what you find. So while they're doing that, how, I think it's great to have the ideas but then what?
The hell do we do with the idea? So that's why we've built the Repeatable IP Lab. Is we've realized we spent a lot of time, Meredith and I, recognizing like what is it that is changed our business? Because we've had a successful business, but it has skyrocketed in the last couple of years, and we're trying to figure out and pinpoint why. And it is because we're using this repeatable IP, and now we're selling to the same group of people and bringing in fewer leads at a time, but selling more often to the same group of people. That is making such a wonderful difference. I think a lot of us, when we think of scale, we think more humans, new humans. But what if it's actually no, the average what is the word I'm looking for? Like the average spend per customer is growing
Right.
because of these kinds of things. That's made such a difference. So we're trying to figure out how do we best support everybody in developing their own repeatable IP, knowing that it's not something you're going to do in 8 weeks or 6 weeks. You know what I mean? It's not that clean. So that's why we developed a membership. So I'm happy to tell you about it. It's called
Yeah,
the
please do.
Repeatable IP Lab because it's a bit of an experiment space. And so people will pay monthly to be part of the lab where they can come in and say, okay, let's ideate together, learn from us on how to create the idea, how to like pick an idea, run with it, test it, validate it, put it out there, package it, maybe even look at licensing it. And in order to do that, we need kind of a messy place to do that, which is why we called it a lab. And the lab is in beta right now. So we are really just getting started. We have our first, I think, 18 people that are in there so far because we had 12 people. It doesn't matter the numbers. We had some founders come in, and now we're doing a beta round. And so we have 18 spots open now until December 1st, if you're interested. When we fully launch this bad boy, we'll open this up in early 2025. It's going to be $250 a month to be in the lab, but that's because all of the course content and everything will be there. But for the folks who join the beta right now, if you join by December 1st, it's $150 a month. So we're making it much more accessible, hopefully, for people to be able to say, you know what, I want to figure this out. And then how long you decide to stay is completely up to you based on how quickly you decide to work on your pieces. But we're being really upfront and clear that when you sign up today, there's only one module ready to go because we're building it. We're building the plane while flying it with our founders and beta members, which means you also get a lot of voice in making it really, really great.
That's exactly what we're doing with Eve.
Yeah, so you get it. I think that's important.
Yeah. And I think it's a great way to build a community and build like real impact and because everyone's doing it together.
Right.
And then you're not creating things that nobody cares about or wants to be a part of, and you're really making something for the people that are there. And I love the idea of not being so concerned with all these new leads, because if you're working with the same people over and over, not only do they know you so well, but they get to know each other, and then they really truly feel connected and invested in each other's success, which I love.
Oh my gosh. And the value of that kind of referral that comes from that too is next level, right? Somebody who feels like they're part of our community,
Right.
which I keep using that word community, and there is no community that they're paying for, right? I don't have
Right.
they're just part of our world, which is really, really cool. So, and then the other thing is we want to walk our talk. Like we want to teach people in the Repeatable IP Lab that when you start validating your repeatable IP, you should get paid for that. Right? We're not saying, oh, like let's go find a bunch of free beta testers. No, let's find a way to get paid while you're building this, but give them a deal because they get to build it. And I don't know about you guys. I love being a beta tester. I love being on the bleeding edge of tech. I love being the person that's like, oh, I get to be part of you building this thing and get in on the early side. So we wanted to also pay that forward.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime I see join our beta or apply for our beta, I'm like, sign me up.
I know, I'm that girl. I'm totally that girl.
Yeah. I did share the link for your RIPL. Is that the Repeatable IP Lab?
The Repeatable IP Lab. It's a mouthful, isn't it? We've also the RIPL.
I like
We've
Ripple.
been the Ripple. Yeah, we've been going with Ripple.
I
I'm
like
liking
Ripple.
it just
But I mean,
works,
it's
right?
certainly a
Like
ripple
It does
effect in your
work.
business.
it does have a ripple effect. I have to see the branding expert right there. I like
And
it.
if you're licensing it, I mean, that's a big ripple.
That would be a big ripple. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that I shared on the YouTube channel as well as in our chat, so feel free to check that out. And for anyone that's listening on YouTube, also for Eve, we are having a member special. And if you join this week, we are offering a 30-minute consultation call with me. And I'm going to put the link for that in YouTube. I mean, we don't need it. We're all VIPs here. So yeah, any other questions or comments or anything you guys want to ask Jennie while we have her expert ears with us?
I did the link. I put my email in and then it said 404 not found. I don't know if that's me doing something,
Okay,
but
no, I am very sad about that. One moment, please. Still checking.
It's good to find
Thank
out.
you for telling me.
yeah. Well, it's the universe telling me to pay attention to you and to not be looking at Chat GPT, I think, right now.
Let me make sure the link I'm about to drop is going to give you a thing. Okay, go to this page right here. It's a crazy looking link. Boy, Jennie and Meredith is a lot of letters and thought Mustafa-Julock was scary.
Do you know how many times I've misspelled Meredith?
Oh, and it's autocorrect so bad. Like Jennie is spelled with an IE, Meredith is spelled with a Y, like, and then our last name is Mustafa-Julock. We just keep telling people Smith was taken. Like, we don't know what else to do. But there you go. If you go to that page, that's the thank you page it should have taken you to. It'll open up. Do you mind if I share my screen, Kendra? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about your initials. Is it JMMJ?
No, JMJ. So, and
well, I
weird-
meant if like I include Meredith's name in that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It would be JMMJ.
Huh.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, in case anybody cares, I don't know why you would care, but the reason Jennie and Meredith is because Meredith's last name was Mustafa. She got the last name that I decided I got the business name. You know, it was Mustafa-Julock versus Julock Mustafa. Okay, so when you open this up, it's going to open up the repeatable IP generator, and then you just click on this button and it will start asking you the questions. So what does your business do? Coaching people who make socks. I don't know. And then it's going to say, great, you make socks. That's fun. Okay. Are you focused on new sock makers? I would not have gone there. Or established brands. Okay. Yeah, that sounds cool. Established brands. There we go. And so your target is established brands. That's great. Final question. What's the primary thing you solve for them? Scaling production. And it even gives you some ideas, right? So those ideas would be based on what you put in. And then based on that, let's create the sock scaling system, the SSS framework, or the production process optimization blueprint, or the sock factory 2.0. There's so many ridiculous ideas. Now, if you put in something that's probably a little less silly than socks, you'll get the idea, and it'll give you some cool ideas to kind of run with. I'm pretty proud of
Guys,
it.
if you do this, definitely share it in the community. I'd love to hear what comes up and what ideas you have, and let's play.
Yeah, it's real fun.
Awesome. Oh, that's so cool. Well, I just can't thank you enough for coming on and teaching us all about this, because I know my brain is spinning with a million different ideas, and I'm going to be up until 2 o'clock in the morning playing with your idea generator.
You're welcome, and I'm sorry.
And guys, don't forget to check out Jennie's link. Check out the lab. I think that's such a cool idea, and I cannot wait to talk to you again and share what we're actually going to move forward with and create our repeatable IP.
Thank you so much.